Welcome to Picks and Parlays, coming to you live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, also broadcasting live on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Nick Geber. Find me on Twitter. It's very easy. It's at Nick Geber, Nickgeber. Love to hear from you. Well, we want to wish everybody a very happy Tuesday, December the 24th, Christmas Eve, or better known to everyone else as Libyan Independence Day. I know we're all celebrating. I wonder what sort of presents get put under the tree for Libyan Independence Day. An IED, a grenade? I don't know, but I bet those kids sure are happy. Okay, we got a lot of games to get to today. We're going to talk some NFL, and of course, bowl season is upon us. There are more than 5 million bowl games, and I believe here at Picks and Parlays, we're going to cover every single one of them for you, if we haven't already. So, a lot of bowl games. Going to talk NFL football as well, of course. Last regular season game of the season. Some games mean a lot. Some games mean nothing. Some players will be having a holiday while the B team plays. We're going to cover them all and telling you the best place to make your bet. Look, find us at picksandparlays.net. And right now we have an extra special gift for you. That's right, promo code BOWL. Put it in the promo code and you'll get 15% off everything. That's everything in your basket. And with bowl season upon us, and up until Friday, we have a special for you. It's our Bowl Capper special. That's right, $1.99 for one capper. You get all their bowl picks. And if you want two cappers, it's only $2.99. All right, I'll be right back after the break. We're going to kick it all off with Triple B, Tony Brown. Let's talk some NFL football. Welcome back to the show. Picks and Parlays here, live, Sports Byline Broadcast Network, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. on the East, 1 p.m. on the left coast. Love to hear from you. By the way, if you missed any part of this show, we do stream it live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We'd also love to hear from you. Fill out the comment section. We'll do our very best to respond to you here during the show. But if you missed any of the live show, you can see replays on all those social media sites and, of course, our podcast network, the Believe Podcast Network, BLEAV. You'll find all the picks and parlays right there for your personal edification. Well, speaking of edification, who better to edify you than the Triple B himself, Tony Brown. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, Nick? I look like I lost you a little bit on the sound. I can barely hear you out there. I don't know if it's my end or yours, but I can hear you enough to get the picks out.
Well, I'll tell you what, Triple B, I just don't want to hear your end, okay? But I want to hear your picks. All right, let's get to it, shall we? And if we lose you, we'll sub you out, okay? Like a tag team in wrestling, okay? So don't worry about it. Tell you what, why don't we just bring in Craig Trapp? I think we're having some trouble there. Let's bring in Count Trapula.
Yeah, I can't hear you
all
at
right,
all,
Craig,
Nick.
welcome. We're gonna lose Tony right there. Bring in Craig. As long as your end's not talking, Craig, we'll be happy.
Yeah, I want to hear the backside talk, but big week here in NFL. Of course, NFL Week 17. Excited to get to the playoffs. Meaningful football again.
Absolutely meaningful football. You know what, Craig? Some of the games this weekend are actually meaningful. I mean, I'm thinking about the 49ers Seahawks. We're going to get to that in a minute. I'll tell you what. Let's start, shall we, with the Bears and the Vikings. The Bears are eliminated from the playoffs. Too bad for them. 7-8. By the way, a 7-8, 4-11 against the spread. That'd get you into an almost above middle bowl level game if you were a college team. But of course, this isn't college. They've been eliminated. They've been on a 2-game losing streak, losses to the Packers and the Chiefs. They're 3-4 and 1-6 against the spread away from Soldier Field. The Vikings, though, 10-4, 8-6 against the spread. They did tie up that wild card spot for the NFC, so they're all pretty happy about that. They can all wear their helmets with the horns and drink lots of beer. They've won the last 2 in a row against the Chargers and the Lions, although I think pretty much everybody beats the Chargers and the Lions. They're 4-4, 3-5 against the spread at home. They are big favorites, though, at home, and I'm not surprised. 7-point favorites, total 41.5. How do you see this one, Craig?
This line could go up. I actually think Minnesota's going to end up closer to probably that 9.5. The Bears look terrible at home against Kansas City last week, 26-3. Against the Kansas City defense, let's be honest, that's not a world beater. So I can't imagine a lot of people are going to be, I think the public's going to be all over the Vikings here. Vikings could be anywhere from a 2 to 6 seed. I mean, that's how crazy their scenarios are, but they're in the playoffs no matter what. I think the Vikings are a deserving favorite. I actually think the under's a solid play in this one because Chicago on the year is 4-11 on the over-under, so unders have been money for them. And the last 9 games, 7 of the last 9 games have gone under for the Bears. So I think this one screams under. I think both of the teams will be lucky to get over 20. So, hey, give me 41.5. I'm going to take the under 41.5. I think the Vikings win, but little too many points for me to lay, even with a meaningful game for the Minnesota Vikings.
I agree. And I have to tell you this, Craig. You know what else this game will be? This game will feature testicular shrinking cold, okay? I mean, in Minnesota plays in December.
Minnesota plays in a dome, Nick, so we don't have to worry about that.
Oh, no, come on. But walking into the dome, that'll do it for you.
Yes, the players get in, then it expands.
Yeah, let the eggnog take over. I'm celebrating Libyan independence today. Okay, right. Next up, Cardinals at Rams. Cardinals 5-9-1, 9-5-1 against the spread. They're out of the playoffs as well. Kyler Murray isn't going to play. He's banged up, and the last thing they're going to do is put him in. They won the last 2 against the Browns and Seahawks. Oh, shred of hope there, but then, oh dear, just wasn't good enough. 2-6 straight up in the last 8. They're 3-4, 6-2 against the spread away. The Rams 8-7, 10-5 against the spread, coming off losses to the Cowboys, the Niners, and really anybody else you can think of. They're 4-3 straight up and against the spread at home. Total has gone under in 7 of the last 10. I'm detecting under on this one. It's a total of 49 points. The Rams 7 points home favorites. Craig, you like under on this?
Well, this is a dangerous game. These are one of the dangerous spots when you have 2 teams that are playing for nothing. And I mean nothing. And the Cardinals coming off a huge win. That win at Seattle this past week, one of the more impressive road wins of the year for any team in the NFL. No one goes to Seattle and wins easily. They were dominating that game. And then, of course, even once Kyle Murray went out, they still played well. I like the Cardinals here. I think the Cardinals are the play here, getting 7.5. I just don't know what else LA has to play for. Obviously, we know not only the Chargers, but the Rams, not a whole lot of home field advantage at this point.
None.
Once they move into the new stadium, maybe, but not this year. I like the Cardinals here getting 7.5, even without Kyle Murray. I think it's going to be a Cardinals win, but give me 7.5 points just in case.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, Craig, when they do move to the new stadium, it's still going to be like 2 grains of salt in an empty salt shaker if you want to find the fans for both the Chargers and the Rams, because, I don't know, LA's a town for basketball, LA's a town for hockey, LA's a town for soccer. It just hasn't really indelibly made its mark as a town for football. I mean, we've had the Rams in there, we've had the Raiders in there before, we've had I lived there for 30 years, and the Chargers always were a fixture of San Diego. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think home field is going to be an advantage initially, but LA people love winners. I mean, let's remember when USC was rolling with Pete Carroll, they filled them up, and so if one of these teams, and I think it would be much clearer to be the Rams. I think Rams have a really solid roster and are on a bounce back year. I think next year, but this year not so much. Let's play against the Rams here. Let's take the Cardinals.
I want to take the Cardinals on this one. I like that. All right, let's move to the next game. This one actually has some meaning to it because the outcome of this game will decide the NFC West Conference and the number 1 seed as well. So we're talking about the Niners at the Seahawks. San Francisco would love some payback. I think November 11th was when they got had that overtime loss to the Seahawks, and that didn't sit well with them. I can tell you that right now. This will be a defensive battle. The Seahawks 4-3, 2-5 against the spread at home. The total has gone over in 6 of the last 8 against the Niners. Craig, if there's any game you're going to watch this weekend, that will be it.
Well, this game has a lot of meaning, like you said, but it also, every team's getting in here. But you could end up being a wild card team if you lose this game. You could the 49ers can end up the 4 seed or the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed. So, I mean, that is a lot. A home field advantage is a huge advantage in the NFL through the playoffs, and it's even more advantage when you get that bye, that first round. So I actually like Seattle getting the points here. I think I could even see Seattle win or losing this game, but covering the points. So I see the line at 3 here. I know Seattle did not play well last week, but they had everything in front of them with this game. So this game was always going to be what it came down to. So I think maybe they looked past the Arizona Cardinals, and thus they got what they deserved. Also saw they signed Lynch in the off week because, of course, injuries at running back. But I just think Russell Wilson has had an MVP type season. I think he has another really big game. The one worry here is they haven't been great at home against the spread, just 2-5 against the spread, versus a 49ers team that's been good on the road against the spread, 5-2 against the spread. So, but I'm going to take the home dog here. I just think this is a extremely close game. I would take the under here, and my better play though would be Seattle +3, and what I think is going to be one heck of a matchup. Might even see this one as a rematch come playoffs down the line.
Interestingly enough, I like your underplay here because typically you're this close to the playoffs. There is a lot at stake here, and two teams, neither one can really afford to lose this game. So I don't see this as a wide open game with teams taking a lot of chances. It's going to be pretty conservative. I'm with you, Trap. Take the under. I like it. All right, that's going to wrap up this segment. You can find Craig at picksandparlays.net. Feel free to load up on his expert picks, and you can get 15% off. Just use promo code BOWL. And, of course, we have our bowl special. We're going to be covering bowl games next, by the way. One capper, all their bowl picks, just $1.99. But wait, there's more. Get two cappers, $2.99, all of their bowl picks as well. You're going to be fully dressed in bowls as we come through bowl season, and hopefully money as well. All right, I'm going to step aside, take a break. I'll be right back. The Duff Man, he does indeed cometh. We're going to talk bowls. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show, Picks and Parlays here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. Also coming to you live. That's right, live. Not dead, live on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. Great to be with you. I'm your host, Nick Geber. Find me on Twitter, at Nick Geber. I promised you a bevy of bowl games, and we do indeed have a bevy of bowl games the next two segments. Joining me now, the Duff Man. He does indeed cometh. Joe Duffy joins me. Are you ready to talk about some bowls, my good friend? Oh, we have no audio on him. That's always a... There he is. Wait. We missed your whole intro. And, let's start again. Welcome in, Joe Duffy. You ready to talk some bowl games, my good friend?
I am. Yeah, I noticed we did. I know we've been having some technical problems. I had to log out and log back in, so I guess they had to put the right one up, and you can make a joke out of that one. But, yeah, so I'm definitely very excited. I know it's Libyan Independence Day, but it's also my 20th anniversary as a father, so I'm excited.
Oh, wonderful. That's very exciting. Well, congratulations. And it's something about Christmas Eve. I don't know, but whatever. I see you're wearing an Ohio State shirt. Those are not one of the games that you and I will be talking about, but I believe I will be talking about Ohio State tomorrow with Alex Smarty Pants Smart. He gets Ohio State, not you, because you're a homer, and we can't have you giving out a pick.
Yeah, well, it's my 20-year-old's school, so that's why I'm an Ohio State fan. There you go.
All right, well, let's start, shall we? Let's talk about a school that I absolutely loathe and a state that my ex-wife is from. Let's talk USC versus Iowa. Too bad there can't be two losers here, folks, but quite frankly, if there is going to be a winner, I would prefer it were Iowa, but let's talk about it. USC 8-4, 7-5 against the spread in this Holiday Bowl. USC offense didn't really wake up until later in the season, but they did manage to average 37.3 points over the final 6 games. Someone must have paid him, and then they woke up. Keaton Slovis, well, he's surprised this season. He took over for JT Daniels, who went out in game 1, and then we were all excited. Sad for JT, but all excited about the doom and gloom facing the USC program. And then this bloody kid came up and did all right, actually. USC are 4-14 against the spread in the last 18 as a dog. And the Iowa Hawkeyes, 9-3, 5-7 against the spread. All 3 losses. Michigan, Penn State, Whiskey. were by one possession, and those are three good programs. And boy, what did Iowa do to land in the Holiday Bowl? They have one of the best defenses in the nation, ranked 12th, 2-7 against the spread in the last 9 versus the Pac-12. They are surprising, Duff, man. They are only 2-point favorites. That to me seems, forget my prejudice against USC, but just comparing the seasons of these two programs, the total 52. So we think there's going to be a lot of scoring, and we think that Iowa's just going to eke by. Does that seem right to you?
Yes, it does. And I know you're averse to Trojans, but there are some reasons why the USC is only a 2-point underdog. And remember, I've always said when you look at records and the point spread just based purely on records would be out of whack. You got to listen to what the odds makers are telling you. Now, remember, I always like to look for what I call a neutral field advantage. It used to be teams playing in their home state and bowl games were a great play. The past couple of years, it's leveled off a little bit, but this is as big of a travel advantage as any. USC traveling only 112 miles to San Diego. Iowa, though, going 1,532. So there's definitely it's, fairly close for USC. They're almost playing a home game. Now, on one hand, going against teams with a much better turnover rate in the bowls is a good play, 63, 46-3. That would benefit USC, but there are countless angles, and this is how you know someone's a square. If they say, I like to go with the team that goes in the bowl games hotter, that is totally false. When you have a significantly colder team, whether it's spread-wise, whether it's straight up, often it's both. A team's going to be hotter in both categories. The colder team is usually the better play because of, they are able to make adjustments with the time off. USC did cover 2 straight. Iowa lost 2 straight, but this angle would benefit Iowa. Now, conversely, it does make sense that USC peaked a little late. They have only 4 seniors, and they had a ton of injuries. You mentioned one of the injuries. Even Slovis was hurt at quarterback. Looks like he will be back. 142 yards this year, 28 touchdown passes because of the neutral field advantage. And because I really think a USC team is going to benefit so much from the time off because they had so many injuries, I think they will regroup. And yes, I hate to burst it for you, but I like the Trojans, +2.
I'm going to take issue with your travel argument here, Duffman. I mean, it's not like they're traveling Frontier Airlines in the hard seats, okay?
Yep.
I mean, these guys travel, they're well taken care of. They have nutritionists. They go from the probably first class or chartered plane to the bus to the nice hotel. I mean, come on, it's just not that hard. I mean, the home field advantage, yeah, okay, there'll be a few USC fans that are going to pull up in their stretch limos with their chauffeurs, but on the whole, I might take umbrage with that, my friend.
Well, no, historically, and I know we were able to, even ESPN has done some articles in the past about how it's an advantage for teams playing in their home state. But like I said, the past 2-3 years, not so much. Again, is it a humongous advantage? Is it, like actually playing on their home field? Not so much, but still, traveling can take a little bit out of you. And USC, they're almost certainly going to have more fans here. So it is a little bit of a neutral field advantage. But yeah, it's not like the same as playing a home game, but I don't think the odds makers really take it into account as much when you're playing on a technically neutral field, but it's not really a neutral field. Remember, only getting an extra point here and an extra point there over the long run is going to be a huge advantage. So it's one of those small advantages that does add up, but more so because I do think USC, for reasons I explained, will benefit from the time off. And look, give them credit. I know Clay Helton, they want his head, but he's had a pretty good year coaching. When you consider all the injuries, he's done a pretty solid job. And, now they're going to be moderately healthy. It looks like Slovis should be close to 100%.
All right, let's move along. We've just got a little time, 2 games to get to. Well, let's go from the Holiday Bowl to the Camping World Bowl. Oh, joy. Notre Dame at Iowa State. Notre Dame 10-2, 8-4 against the spread. Great season. Sort of under the radar a little bit because of the quality of the opposition. And the 2 losses they did have were at the hands of Georgia and Michigan. They're favorites and have won the last 22 when they are favorites. Poor performances in the postseason, though. 5-12 straight up in the last 17. Iowa State 7-5, 6-6 against the spread. Disappointing season. Although A lot of games were close with Iowa State. The offense was a constant, averaged 34 points a game. They're 2-3 straight up. Look, this game has two quarterbacks who racked up at least 3,300 yards and 35 touchdowns. We got a big point total on this at 54.5. I wonder if it's even enough. Notre Dame 3.5-point favorites.
Well, here's one where I'm going to go. Countless angles that do say go with the colder spread team, as Notre Dame covered 4 straight, while Iowa State has dropped 3 straight against the spread. But the colder spread team says go with Iowa State. You mentioned it. Brock Purdy's one of the top Iowa State quarterbacks ever with 18 school records. Remember, when Notre Dame lost to Georgia at the time, Georgia, this before they lost to to South Carolina, I should say, the other USC, and it looked like they had a true quality win, and they were undefeated for a while, and there was even some talk that they could be a Final Four team. So I think this is really truly a consolation bowl for them. They had much higher expectations earlier in the year because of what you said. Look, they've got a very good quarterback with Ian Bock, some great wide receivers with Claypool, and then 2-headed tight ends. But I really think that if either team's going to be have a letdown here, it is going to be Notre Dame, and because of the systems I said that says go with the colder team in bowl games with the time off, I do like Iowa State plus the points.
All right, good timing because we got just enough time, 3 minutes. Let's get this next one in. It's the biggie. It's Oklahoma LSU Peach Bowl. This is the college football semifinal playoff. Oklahoma Sooners 12-1, 5-8 against the spread. Their lone loss was to Kansas State. Sooners beat all ranked teams they faced. They scored 43 points per game, but they're ranked 49th in points conceded. They're 1-5 against the spread. The LSU Tigers, I don't really know what to say about this. I mean, a perfect season. Great team, great fun to watch. Scored the third most points per game in the country, winning by an average margin of 26. Oh, and a tough schedule as well to boot. So look, these two teams ranked in the top 5 points per game and outside the top 20 defensively. So you're going to smell a lot of points in this game. It is 75.5 points. LSU 13-point favorites.
Yes, and here's one that's actually intuitive. I talk a lot about counterintuitive stuff, but when you have a high point spread and a lot of points are being scored, which means the points, of course, will be easier to come by, and the high point spread doesn't mean as much. Going with a big favorite in games that are expected to be exceptionally high scoring, very good play. That includes the regular season. 87, 47, and 2. Of course, that would favor LSU. Fading teams off of us, a couple great defensive games, 595 and 5. That would favor Oklahoma. We don't have too many, but enormously big favorites in the Division I playoffs, a very solid 3-1. We're going to be looking very close. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is he going to be playing for LSU? He gives them balance with the running game, but it's been confirmed Oklahoma with several key suspensions, including Ronnie Perkins, and of course the running back Stevenson. Perkins leads the team in sacks with 6, second in tackles for loss. I just think LSU, they are going to blow them out. I normally don't like to lay the big number, especially against a good team, but LSU, especially with the suspensions, and if the running back is healthy, should win this game easily.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's good teams, and Oklahoma Sooners, absolutely a really exciting season. They've been a great team. I mean, they're in the semifinals of the college football playoffs, for crying out loud. However, LSU, they're just at a different level, and every time I watch this team play, you never get the feeling that they're going to lose the game. I mean, no, it just never happens. They've been that good this season. 15 seconds, final thought.
Yeah, and again, Oklahoma doesn't have the ability to take them LSU out of their high-powered game. They've got to quote-unquote outscore and play up-tempo. That falls in LSU's hands. So I do think that LSU will win a high-scoring game, but they'll win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Duffman, always a pleasure. Joe Duffy, you can find Joe at picksandparlays.net. And right now, all of Joe's picks, 15% off. Use promo code BOWL. And if you want his bowl picks, you can get those, all of them, $1.99, one capper. And if you want to add, say, I don't know, Chip Chirimbus or El Guapo on there, you can do it. You can get 2 cappers for $2.99. All right, I'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Picks and Parlays here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, where you'll find us every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, and also streaming live throughout the day, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you want the best in sports picks, well, you're not going to get them from me. I'm just the host. You're going to get them from any one of our 35 expert cappers, and all the expert cappers you will see on this show, giving out free picks aplenty. And don't forget, our expert picks are also there for you at picksandparlays.net. I'll tell you about our special at the end of the segment, but in the meantime, if you want to hear him roar, there's no better time than right now to bring in LT Gray. Let's talk a little college bowls, because while we did that last segment, now we're going to do it this segment. So many bowls to get to, Tony. Really, my bowl runneth over. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's bowl season. They all come really quickly here as we're winding down here. We're getting into the big matchups now with the good teams, and I'm really excited about it.
All right, well, let's get to it. Let's start with Minnesota Auburn. This is the Outback Bowl. The Minnesota Golden Gophers, 10-2, 6-4-2 against the spread. 2 losses in the last 3 games, though, dashed the Gophers' hope of a Big Ten title or a college football playoff berth. But, you know, I've always thought that the Gophers' real hope is to just dig holes in my yard and eat my plants and leave little gopher droppings in there. But apparently they had other ideas, but they were dashed. This is the first New Year's Day game for Minnesota since 1962. A game, I might add, that was actually covered for picksandparlays.net by our very own Chip Chirimbus, who was at that game, and that was his winning selection of the week. So, you know, how about that? That's gone over in 5 of the last 6 for the Golden Gophers, averaging 54 points a game. And Auburn, 9-3 against the spread. Look, their 3 losses came to Georgia, LSU, and Florida. They're 11-1 straight up, 10-2 against the spread in the last 12 when they're favorites. Total has gone under in 4 of the last 5. I mean, Auburn, you know, there's the luck of the draw, and then there's, well, an unlucky draw. And really, strength of opposition, I think, has had a lot to do with the Tigers and landing here in the Outback Bowl. But they are big favorites, 7-point favorites, and total 53.5. LT Gray, do you agree with me on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to definitely look here at Auburn here at -7. It's a huge step up in class for Minnesota. Of course, we saw the Tigers flex their muscle, beating Alabama 48-45. Put up 181 yards rushing, 5.5 yards a carry on that Crimson Tide defense. That was really impressive. And one thing to note here, you know, Auburn, they were competitive in losses. LSU by 3, Georgia by 7, and they gave up only 21 points to LSU, and it kept the Georgia offense intact as well. But, you know, when you looked at Minnesota, when they stepped up and faced the good defensive teams, the results were losses, as you said. They lose to Iowa 23-19. Then that game against Wisconsin, that one, a 38-17 loss, it blew their shot at a Big Ten championship and the Rose Bowl game. Even if they got to the Big Ten title game, they probably would have gotten the Rose Bowl because Ohio State got into the playoffs. So again, that was a costly loss, losing to Wisconsin. And of course, you know, one thing I note here with Minnesota is their run game just could not get off the ground here. 2.1 yards a carry to Iowa, 2.5 to Wisconsin. Now they face one of the nation's best defensive teams in Auburn. Of course, their head coach, Gus Malzahn, you know, came into the season on the hot seat. So I think he wants some positive momentum going into the next season. And of course, one thing to note, Minnesota was able to avoid some heavyweights in conference. They didn't play Ohio State, did not play Michigan. Of course, Michigan State was not on the schedule. Another good defensive team. So they weren't really battle tested against some of the elite teams. Now they're stepping up in class. And don't forget the non-conference where Minnesota struggled against Fresno State and Georgia Southern, winning by 3 in those games. I'm going to go ahead and take the favorite here with Auburn -7.
All right, fair enough. I like that pick. Let's go to I read this as the Belch Bowl, but it's not. It's the Belk Bowl. It's Virginia Tech, Kentucky. Virginia Tech Huskies, 8-4, 6-6. I have to just stop this for a minute. Honestly, Tony, I love the bowl games are great, and it's a little like AYSO. Everybody has to play it, everybody has to feel it, everybody has to get a trophy. But some of these teams have just really mediocre records, and really maybe they shouldn't have a postseason. Maybe they should just have a time to reflect on how crappy their season's been and how they've let down their alumni and their fans. But oh no, you get to go to the Belk Bowl, and let's get to it. The Huskies, impressive defense though, one of the top against the spread teams in the country. They've had a turnover problem, however, small. 22 turnovers in 12 games, and that is not a number that you want to be proud of. They've limited opposition in the last 4 games to just 37 points total. By the way, that included Notre Dame. And Kentucky, 7-5, 9-3 against the spread. Another team with a stellar defense, limiting their final 5 opponents at just 54 points in total. They've outscored the last 3 opponents by 99. They're the 4th most rushing yards in the nation. They're 6-1 against the spread in the last 7. And if you're waiting for me to say that Kentucky are big favorites, you're just wrong, because Virginia Tech are 3-point favorites with a total points of 46. Tony, I scratched my head on this one. Why are Virginia Tech favorites for this game?
Well, a couple of things here. It was a messy start for Virginia Tech, but they got their act together late. And I'm going to go ahead and take Virginia Tech here at minus a 2.5. They played well on the stretch, winning and covering 6 of their final 8. Their offense really got on track when they switched quarterbacks at Herndon Hooker. 62% completion rate, 11 touchdowns, 2 picks. He averaged 10.3 yards per pass attempt. Now, one thing with Kentucky, they're a one-dimensional team. They lost their starting quarterback and their backup to injury, so they had to go to their wide receiver, Lynn Bowden, and said, come and be our quarterback, which he did. He's not a very accurate quarterback. 46% is their completion rate. And this will also close the career of longtime defensive coordinator Bud Foster for Virginia Tech, who will retire at the end of the season. The Hokies did put up really good defensive numbers, as you said, against Notre Dame, against Pittsburgh. One thing to note here, Bud Foster's defense will have 1 month to get ready for a one-dimensional offense. Wildcats third-string quarterback Lynn Bowden. Here's something I couldn't believe. He's a 46% completion rate, and he's telling the world that he's going to enter the NFL draft after his junior season because, let's face it, they had some success down the stretch running the football. I don't get it. His mind's now for the NFL, and he can't even complete half his passes. This doesn't make sense to me. I don't think this kid's head's on straight. I'm going to go ahead and take Virginia Tech here minus 2.5.
So what's the quarterback that's completing 46% of his passes?
Lynn Bowden. He's a wide receiver who turned quarterback because Kentucky lost both their starters and their backup, so they had to turn to this wide receiver to play quarterback. Right. The team has had success winning going 5-2, not facing the top teams obviously, but he can't complete half his passes, and he has success running the football. But they know him. I mean, you've got Bud Foster here with a month to prepare against a one-dimensional team. I think they can handle them.
And quite frankly, 46% completion rate. Hey, he's going to be a number 1 draft pick to the Bengals. Okay, next up, let's go, shall we? Oklahoma State. Oh, let's not do that one. Let's do Cal versus Illinois. Look, this is the Red Box Bowl, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure if that's a video rental company or a yeast infection. But it's Cal, Illinois at the Red Box Bowl. The Golden Bears, 7-5, 6-6 against the spread. Essentially a home game for them because it's in San Francisco, and Berkeley's 45 miles from San Francisco. The offense is really firing for the Golden Bears right now. They scored 52 points in the last 2 wins in a row. That was enough to see them to the postseason, again with a 7-5 record. I scratched my head. Total has gone under in the last 21. And Illinois, the Illini, Suckeye, 6-6, 8-4 against the spread. But hey, you get a bowl game because everybody's got to feel good. Really survived the year on turnovers, though. They recovered the 2nd most turnovers in college football. They're plus 11 in the turnover margin, which sounds like a delicious breakfast, by the way. But Cal only turned the ball over 13 times the entire season, so probably not a good matchup. And Cal are big favorites at 6.5 points. Not many points, though, 43. Tony T, how do you see this?
Yeah, I'm going to go here under the total of 43.5. The final Illini make a bowl game as they got healthy on defense and played well enough to finish at 6-6. This is a senior-laden team for Illinois defensively, so that makes kind of sense where they all aged and they played their best here as a lot of their defensive players are seniors. But really, the truth is, the final line offense really played poorly down the stretch, held to 10 points in losses at the end of the season at Iowa, and then a bad Northwestern team. How do you score 10 on them? I don't get it. Over their past 3 games, final line only averaged 300 yards. And one thing to note here with this Illinois team, once they got bowl eligible at 6-4, the coach was dancing and they were all excited. And they were just satisfied. They stopped their quality of play. They digressed. But California, too, a good defensive team, hampered by struggles on offense. They did play under in 8 of their 12 games. They have allowed 20 or fewer points in 3 of their final 4 games. Illinois has played to under in 7 of 12. In their games away from home, Final Illini have played to under in 4 of 5. I think this is going to be a snooze fest here, Nick. I'm going to go Cal and Illinois to go under total of 43.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. Not an exciting one. All right, let's move along. Texas Bowl. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, the Texas Bowl. Okay, Oklahoma State, 8-4, 9-3 against the spread, looking for their 4th straight Texas Bowl win. They're on a current postseason run of 3-0 straight up and against the spread. The total's gone over in the last 8 against A&M. And for A&M, the Aggies, 7. Isn't that the hook 'em horns thing? Yes, it is. 7-5, 7-5 against the spread. 7-5 record is more like 0-5 though versus good teams, and 7-0 against rubbish teams. Yet you find your way to the world famous Texas Bowl. Where does Oklahoma State rank? Good or rubbish? I'm probably going to say probably in between. A&M 9-1 straight up in the last 10 after consecutive losses. A&M are the 7-point favorites and 54 points.
Yeah, in this one, I'm going to go ahead and take the favorite here, Texas A&M. You can find 6.5 about half the books out there, so try to shop your best number. But one thing about the Aggies, Nick, is they played one of the toughest schedules of all teams in college football. They dropped games to Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. That is a pretty tough schedule there. And, of course, they closed the season with a bad loss to LSU. And, of course, Jimbo Fisher is a high-profile coach. He needs to turn this around. He needs a good showing here because he doesn't want to go into the season with another loss on his
Well, did we just lose Tony? We just lost Tony full flow. Oh my goodness. And we were getting into the depths of Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, the Texas Bowl. Maybe we can get him back. He did say he agreed with the 7-point favorites, but total of 54. I was interested to know if he thought that was going to go over or not, because given Oklahoma State's postseason run. But we have Craig. Craig, welcome back. Thanks for pinch hitting here. We're having some technical problems. Listen, we literally got a minute. Texas A&M 7-point favorites, total 54. Tony was saying he was going to lay the points on A&M at -7. What about this total 54? You think it's going to go under?
Well, my initial always on bowls is always lean towards the under. When in doubt, lean towards the under and the underdog. That's always my doubt. I'm definitely on the under. The farther this is after Christmas, too, the more likely I am to lead under, because that means they had more rest, more rust, and rust usually doesn't do well for the offense.
Isn't it Neil Young that said rust never sleeps?
I don't know. Rust versus rest. That's what they always say in college football, and I don't think it's a good thing usually. I think more so, I think the rules set up for more points nowadays, but that's built into the number already. So I like the under if I was going to play the total in this one.
All right, and we just got you for like another, 45 seconds. So while we do, why don't we just quickly get your take on some of these? Did you agree pretty much with Tony on most of these, or did you differ on any?
Well, I was pretty much on the same side. Tony and I usually have the very similar mindset. That's why when we do the rapid fire, most times out of the 7 or 8 picks, we end up on the same side, which is, it's been some really good weeks, that's for sure. There's, of course, some bad ones in there.
It's good for sports betting, but it's lousy for entertainment. We want to see pugilism, disagreement, fighting. Craig Trapp, thank you for standing in. As always, you've been a stellar stand-in today here on Picks and Parlays on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. We're going to take a break. In case you missed any of our picks, we're going to wrap them all up for you, recap them, so that you can then run along and place your bets on them. And by the way, if we didn't get to any of the games you want to, I'm willing to bet you we've got them at picksandparlays.net. They're either free picks or our expert picks, which are there for you right now. Get online, promo code BOWL, 15% off everything. And when we come back, I'll tell you about our 2-capper special. Be right back after this to wrap it up for you. Welcome back to the show. Picks and Parlays this December 24th, Libyan Independence Day. Oh yes, it is Christmas Eve too. That's why I'm wearing this silly hat. We bring you the best in sports betting picks, both on our website at picksandparlays.net and here on this show, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1% Pacific. And of course, we have lots of videos on our YouTube page, our Facebook page, our website. You can find it all there. Loads of videos, loads of free picks, and of course our expert picks are waiting for you when you're ready to kick it up a notch. 15% off, use promo code BOWL, everything in the shopping cart. And if you want to bet the college bowl season, the best way to do it is to get our capper special. $1.99 one capper, all their picks for the bowl season. $2.99 2 cappers, all their picks, and this is good until Friday. All right, we did give out a lot of free picks, so let's recap. Let's get right to it, shall we? Duffman. We went with Duffman. his bowl game picks. USC Iowa, take USC +2. Notre Dame versus Iowa State, take Iowa State +3.5. And finally, Oklahoma LSU, take LSU -13. Tony T, his bowl game picks: Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, take Texas A&M 6.5. Cal, Illinois, take under 43.5. Virginia Tech, Kentucky, take Virginia Tech -2.5. And Minnesota, Auburn, take Auburn -7. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Loads more free picks at picksandparlays.net as well. Tune in then. Until then, bet, win, repeat.